All right, breaking news. The Jets just released former Pro Bowl wide receiver Davante Adams, and they've also allowed Allen Lazard to seek a trade. So let's bring in our New York Post Jets beat writer, Brian Costello, to talk about the Adams news and where they stand with Lazard. All right, Kaz, thanks for hopping on in such short notice. The news just broke about Adams. There were reports that they were going to try and shop him around. I guess were they not able to find a trade partner for him, or did Adams kind of ask for his release? And another part to that question, how much money in cap space do they save by releasing him?
Yeah, Brandon, a trade was never realistic for Davante Adams. I mean, I think everyone knew this when he signed the contract with the Raiders. There was 2 years, 2025 and 2026, that called for him to get paid $35 million. Those were non-guaranteed years. So no one ever thought he was going to see that money. And then when he got traded to the Jets, no one thought he was going to see that money. The only chance there was if him staying with the Jets was if it worked really well in 2024 and they were running it back with everybody in 2025, and he would have had to agree to a new contract and lower that number for the Jets. So that didn't happen. Obviously, 2024 didn't work out. Aaron Rodgers is going to be on his way out of town, so I think everyone knew Devontae was going to be cut. I think people were just talking about a trade to try to maybe drum up some interest. Someone put that out there, but that wasn't happening. By cutting him, they will save just under $30 million. It's 29.8, $29.9 million in cap space. There's an $8 million dead money charge that they'll keep, but he had a huge cap number for this year that now will go way down for the Jets, down to the $8 million dead money.
They gave up a third round pick for him for the to the Raiders. 67 catches, 854 yards, 7 touchdowns in 11 games. He
Yeah.
wasn't able to help turn that Jet season around. Some other breaking news with another Aaron Rodgers receiver, Allen Lazard, who is in the third year of a 4-year, $44 million contract, and his cap hit stands at $13.2 million in 2025. 60 catches for 841 yards and 7 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. Does he have any trade value? And if his camp can't find a suitable trade partner for him, where does that lead the Jets or leave the Jets?
No, there's no one's going to trade for Allen Lazard. That's somebody putting out wishful thinking. He'll be cut, and the Jets will save that money, that cap space that you just named. Will shrink, and they'll clear a little bit more space. This is, they're clearing out the Aaron Rodgers era here, Brandon. We saw basically when Aaron Rodgers got traded to the Jets, even before he got traded to the Jets, they started loading up on friends of Aaron. And Davante was kind of the last one in October to try to salvage the Aaron Rodgers era. None of it worked. So now the Jets are kind of cleaning house on all of these friends of Aaron. And I think Devontae gets cut today. I think Lazard will be cut sometime before the new league year starts next week.
Okay, so the Jets wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3 are on their way out. The legal tampering period for NFL free agents starts March 10th at 12 p.m. So let's go and talk about quarterbacks. From what you've heard, who could the Jets target in free agency at the quarterback position, and what's this new regime's plan to try and find their QB1 for the future?
Well, we're going to find out, Brandon. We don't know what their plan is, but we're going to find out. I think Justin Fields is the one to watch. Does he get out of Pittsburgh, or do the Steelers sign him? If he's available in free agency, I think the Jets will be interested. He makes a lot of sense for the Jets. He's a guy who was a first round pick, didn't work out in Chicago, had some success in Pittsburgh last year before they went to Russell Wilson. We've seen what happened with Sam Darnold in Minnesota, what's happened with Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. There's this idea that maybe you can get a guy who had first round talent and it didn't work out, and salvage something in their career. So he's the guy I'm keeping an eye on. If the Steelers sign him, then it starts getting into a different market. The Carson Wentz's of the world, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, maybe we start looking at those types of things. And remember, they have Tyrod Taylor under contract already. So I think it's going to be, my guess is it's going to be Tyrod Taylor, a veteran quarterback, and then they draft somebody, not in the first round of the draft, but day 2 or day 3 of the draft, to give them a young developmental quarterback too.
But let's say Justin Fields re-signs with the Steelers. Does that put pressure on Darren Muji to trade up from 7 to try and get one of the young tier 1 quarterbacks in this draft class?
I don't think necessarily, Brandon, it puts pressure on him. I think, if you're in love with Cam Ward, right? And honestly, from the talk at the combine, things can change in the next 2 months, but the talk of the combine was Cam Ward is kind of clearly ahead of Shador Sanders in a lot of people's eyes. So if he's the one that you think is the guy, okay, then try to go up and get him. But I would just have some concerns. Number one, the Tennessee Titans, they have Will Levis as their quarterback right now. Why are they trading out? Like, what do they know about the quarterback that they're going to be willing to trade out? Number two, it's going to cost you a lot to move from 7 to 1. I know the other team in town, the Giants, has been talked about. Well, they moved to 1. Well, moving from 3 to 1 isn't going to be crazy expensive. It's going to cost you some picks, but it's not going to cost you next year's first round pick, probably. The Jets are definitely giving up the 2026 first round pick if they're going from 7 to 1. So, do you want to do that walking in the door if you're Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji? I think the answer is yes. If you look at Cam Ward and go, oh my God, this guy is can't miss. He's going to be here for 10 years, but you better be right. That's the thing. You better be right. So, I think it's a very high risk move for a new regime to make to move up to 1. So I'm skeptical that that will happen.
Final thoughts, Kaz. Davante Adams, I guess you can give me an emoji, finger up or down. Was it worth it?
Yeah, it's a good question, Brandon. I haven't really processed it. You know, I think it was worth it to take this swing. I get what they were thinking at the time. I was not in favor of the trade at the time. I thought it would disrupt the locker room. I thought it would disrupt Garrett Wilson, and I think it kind of did. Rodgers got fixated on Davante a lot, and so it didn't obviously didn't work. I get though the Jets thinking at the time they were trying to salvage the season at that point. They had just fired Robert Saleh the week before. They make the move to try to spark something in that offense. So I get it. You gave up a third round pick. It's not the end of the world, but I'm kind of I don't have a great answer for you, Brandon, because I am back and forth on it. I understand the thinking, but clearly it didn't work out.
All right, we got the Kaz emoji right here.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
gonna put it to the sideways. Hey,
Sorry, I don't have the hot take for you, but I just yeah, I'm conflicted on whether I get what they were trying at the time. It didn't work out, obviously.
all good. Well, thank you for your time, Kaz.
All right, thanks, Brandon.